This file begins with a phone lighting up in a quiet room. No message, no warning, just a ring that feels out of place. Not because a phone rang, because of the name it shows, because the person attached to that name is already gone. And what makes it unsettling isn't the call. It's what happens after you don't answer. Welcome to Case File. Tonight's file is about calls that arrive in the wrong direction. A missed call. A voicemail that appears late. A number that shouldn't be active anymore. This isn't here to prove the impossible. It's here to document a pattern and why it lands so precisely when it does. Case 1 is simple. That's why it works. 2 days after the funeral, the phone rings. One ring, and it stops. No voicemail. No follow-up. When you check the screen, it's a saved contact, the name you never deleted, a number you haven't touched since the day you heard the news. Most people don't call back, not because they believe it, because they don't want to turn a strange moment into a real conversation. They stare at it. They take a screenshot. They tell themselves they'll check later. And then they notice the detail that makes the memory stick. Timestamp feels slightly wrong. Not hours, seconds. As if the call arrived. Half a step out of place. This is where behavior changes quietly. People keep old contacts just in case. They stop cleaning their phone the way they used to. They treat a device like it's holding something fragile. Because the feeling isn't a glitch. The feeling is a message. Case 2 is more common, and it's more cruel. A voicemail appears hours later, sometimes a day later. You didn't see the missed call. You didn't hear the ring, but there it is, sitting on your screen like it was always meant to be there. Sometimes the voicemail is nothing more than breathing. Sometimes it's a few words that don't quite connect. Not dramatic, not theatrical, just close. Close enough that you listen twice.
Hey, I'm sorry. Call me back.
That's the detail people remember, not what it says, but when it arrives. Because the mind doesn't ask, is this real? It asks, why now? And why now implies meaning. Meaning implies intention. Case 3 is where the story grows teeth. It isn't a saved contact. It's a number you recognize because you typed it too many times. The line was cancelled. The device is gone. The contract ended. And still, it calls. Sometimes it shows as unknown. Sometimes no caller ID. Sometimes the number is perfect, except one digit is wrong. Like someone copied it from memory. And if you call back, it doesn't connect. No ring, no mailbox, nothing. as if the number only exists in one direction. Inbound.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Here's the shift in this file. There are real mechanisms that can produce something that looks like a call from the dead. And understanding them doesn't erase the feeling. It just changes what you do with it. First, caller ID is not proof of identity. It's a label, and labels can be faked. Second, voicemail delivery isn't always immediate. Messages can be delayed by routing, queue errors, device switching, carrier handoffs. A voicemail can arrive late, can attach itself to the exact moment your mind is already searching. Third, phone numbers get recycled. A number you associate with a person can later belong to someone else. That doesn't feel comforting. It feels invasive. Because the number still wears the old identity in your head. And yet, these stories survive because of one thing. Timing. It's always timing. The call arrives on a birthday, or the first night alone, or the moment you're about to say the name out loud, or at an hour that feels loaded, not because it's mystical, but because it's quiet enough to be heard. Most of the time, the explanation is mundane, but the placement feels too exact. Not impossible, just too well aimed. So people change behavior. They stop deleting contacts. They keep numbers they should erase. They avoid opening old voicemails. They treat a system like it has intention. Not because they want a ghost story, because a blank space is worse. Because uncertainty doesn't feel neutral, it feels like pressure. This file isn't saying the dead are calling. It's saying the living are vulnerable to timing, to absence, and to systems that look precise when they aren't. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes the call doesn't need to be real to change what you do next. Case file closed.